Traveling the Vortex.
Turning the town red. A head full of brand new words and a mouth full of sharks.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex. Red, red, red. And landed at episode number 214. It all started out as a mild curiosity about a TV show, and it's turned out to be quite a great podcast. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
I'm good.
Feeling a little angry.
Why are you angry?
I don't know. Pent up rage, I guess. I don't know.
We're not allowed to feel angry.
I am.
White noise has cut that out. Did you just say we go chip
I
again?
turned off my chip.
You can do that?
Fancily.
But then you can't live in the needle anymore.
Yeah, I'm living underground.
You can't watch Transformers movies either.
I'm okay with that.
Because then you get angry.
Oh. That was bad.
Yeah.
What'd you guys do this week?
Swinging it. I watched a couple movies.
What'd you watch?
We watched Cirque du Soleil, Worlds Away, which was on Netflix. I don't remember what we were going to watch. Something else. And not that was like, you know.
We planned on watching something else.
It was in the instant queue. You know, you pile stuff in the instant queue.
Right.
It's like, I'll get around to that eventually. And then they say it's going away. And it's like, well, I guess I better watch that sooner than later. This one's not going away. We were going to watch something else, but Katrina was still up. And due to whatever subject material was in the one we thought about watching.
Now being February, it's gone.
Probably. we decided, let's watch something. And oh, hey, look, music, clowns. Sure, let's do that. And it was really cool. It's kind of a best of the Cirque du Soleil shows, because they were going along and doing this thing, and you know, this girl's hunting for a trapeze artist who falls off the trapeze, but then sinks. He like hits the ground and goes poof and disappears into the sand pit. And so she chases him down into this other world. It's kind of a cool, surrealistic setup. But they're going through all these different things and different acts and whatnot. And all of a sudden, it's like, hey, I recognize this one. This was Ka. We went and saw this one in Vegas. And shortly after that, then they went into some of the Beatles ones. And
I was going to ask you, you didn't see Love then?
we didn't see Love.
Oh, okay.
Dave saw
That
Love.
was just Dave and Lori.
Dave and Lori saw
Okay.
Love and O. He's seen O. Which I recognize parts of O based on his description of O that were in this. But yeah, no.
So,
the
so
only
it's
one I've
really
seen is
great
Ka.
for somebody who's not watched any.
Yeah, no,
You get a real taste of
it's cool.
everything.
You kind of get a taste for everything that's done, and you know, it was well done. Although, and it's apparently it's executive produced by James Cameron, which I didn't know. And every time I see something along those lines where there's a big name that's attached in some way, shape, or form, whether it's executive producing is pretty much just putting your name on it, but sometimes producer and other credits. He seemed like he maybe had a little bit more of a hand in this based on how the credits ran. But every time I see something like that, I kind of sit and think to myself, how did you let this guy direct it? Because whenever I watch a live presentation of a show, I think to myself, I wouldn't have put that camera there. Because it's just a weird angle. You didn't capture what was really going on, and then you're for your wide shot, you're kind of off to one side, and it doesn't have the same dynamic flow.
Sometimes it depends on the venue too.
Yeah.
You're limited on camera options.
I'm sure that probably has something to do with it, especially because all of these different venues in Vegas are all a little different.
Plus, if you're recording a live performance, sometimes it's difficult to get those cues exactly right every time.
I don't think this was live. I think this was set, and I could be wrong, but I didn't see any audience in any of the. Maybe they were just very masterful, and that's why the camera was placed there. But it just kind of struck me as weird. As like I wouldn't have shot that way. I've seen this one. That's not where I was sitting, and you messed that up.
Well, Cameron didn't direct it.
Yeah, that's right. But it's good, and it's totally worth watching, especially if you like Cirque du Soleil or circuses or that kind of stuff, or if you just like musical performances, because that's really what it kind of boils down to. Is the narrative thread is not so much that you really have to pay attention to it; it's pictures and music. But it was worth watching. It was kind of cool. And then what was the other one we watched? I'll think on it. Somebody else go.
Speaking of things that fell off Netflix and I wanted to get to, on the heels of watching the remake of Ninja Turtles, I went and watched the original one.
Oh.
And I remember that really well. I guess that was one of the ones I watched enough when I was
Probably
younger.
over and over again, yeah.
Yeah. And it still holds up for me. Every bit of it. Now, I went and rewatched also Secretly Ooze, because it was falling off Amazon Prime. So I was like, well, I better watch that. I guess all the licenses were up for that.
I own all of these. You could have come over and gotten them at any point in time.
I've come to the conclusion. I was kind of on the fence about it. Now I think I need to own these all on Blu-ray because I enjoyed them.
Yay.
I knew I liked them, but I didn't know how much they would hold up in my 30-year-old brain. And while Secretly Used fell down a little bit, it's still a lot of fun for me. And it wasn't until seeing the Honest trailer that I was like, oh yeah, they don't use their weapons. And
I didn't know that until I saw that Honest trailer. It kind of shocked me.
It wasn't until that I kind of was able to see some of the holes in it. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed them as much. And I quasi-forgot and quasi-remembered that Sam Rockwell was in the first movie. He's like the chief thug.
Is he really?
Giving the tour of the place. And kind of he shows up later.
The foot?
Yeah, well, he's not in like foot uniform. He's like a recruiter, I guess. Go back and watch it, yeah. It doesn't sound like him because he put more of an accent on it. But yeah. I've done that, and I've made a lot of progress on Lego Batman 3.
I keep seeing your trophy announcements pop up.
I finished the story. I'm, according to my save game, 45% done and going through my free play. And there's aspects of this you will not like, Glenn.
Uh-oh.
The hub I thought was manageable until I discovered the lantern planets.
Oh, dear.
Each lantern has its own planet that you get to go to as
dear.
a hub. Now, there are no levels, but there are quests and stuff on the hub.
Oh, dear.
And gold bricks and characters. And so we'll see. I haven't started exploring that yet. I'm just going through getting my red bricks and getting the free play done first.
Oh, bother. That was the other one I watched. Well, one of the other ones. We watched the newest
The new
Winnie the Pooh, which I apparently had not seen. I bought it, and
That was only a couple years
sitting on the shelf, and I just assumed that I had seen this. And Katrina started watching it, and I was watching it, and went, I've never seen this before. And how that's Mr. Bean is the voice of Owl, and on and on and on. I know we've talked about it.
And John Cleese is the narrator.
John Cleese is the narrator. And who was the other one that sounded really familiar to me? Eeyore. I couldn't tell if that was still Peter Cullen or not.
It wasn't.
It's not.
It's not. Who is it now? You know?
Cannot remember.
To the Imdb. Hold on.
And Owl. Who's Owl?
Oh, I knew that one recently, too.
Because Owl totally sounded like...
Craig Ferguson.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's not who I thought it was then. I didn't get to finish that one. It was delightful what I saw.
It is.
It was really
Not as good as the others, but still very enjoyable.
It's really good.
Bud Luckley is Eeyore.
Yeah, he's the one that's taken over Eeyore's voice in some of the smaller projects, too.
No, the other one that we watched was Fury.
Oh, how was that?
It's really good. You have to like World War II movies.
I couldn't put it in my head.
Or tank movies.
Yeah. And Brad Pitt. And,
yeah. Really good cast in it. I was surprised because Brad Pitt's in it and Shia LaBeouf's in it. And
Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson's in it. Not real name.
The kid. No, I know him as the kid from Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Shane from Walking Dead is in it.
Oh yeah.
That's some quality people. But yeah, it's a good movie. Like I said, it's one of those that's almost tough to watch in a way because it's presenting the horrors of war and what these tank crews went through and everything. Which, if you know anything about World War II, the tank crews had rough times of it. They were outnumbered and outgunned and outmanned and all kinds of stuff. But this particular one was really good. It was tough to watch.
So that was probably the movie you were thinking of watching with Katrina, and decided not.
No.
Oh no, it was something else.
I remember that one fell off Netflix already.
Whatever it was, we didn't watch it. So. But no, it was good. Oh. I own it if you want to. It was a Target Steelbook, so Mel was like, "Yeah, buy it." I was like, "Well, we haven't seen it." I don't care, buy it. I was like, okay.
I think that was one Sarah was interested in.
Yeah. She would have to watch like this.
Depends on. She does decent with war movies for some reason.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of decapitations. And, you have not lived until you've seen somebody decapitated by a tank shell.
Wow.
The main... Okay, and we're done here. I mean, there's nowhere to go from there. You can't come back from that. Yeah, I don't know that Sarah would handle it pretty well. Maybe I'm wrong, but she'd have to watch from behind the couch.
Maybe. Did you watch anything, Glenn?
I didn't watch any movies. I caught up on Arrow and Flash and just about everything other thing I was falling behind on. Watched Peggy Carter this week. I watched the entire series of Gallivant.
Oh, yeah.
Which was fun. It's actually quite clever. I just was a little disappointed with the way they ended it.
I agree.
But especially since, even though they make fun of the fact that it may not get a
second
season, but they ended it in with obvious intentions to continue on. But I thought it was quite enjoyable. I think I would watch a second season of it, but
I liked that it was only 8 episodes long.
Yep.
I don't think I would have watched 24 episodes.
No, they couldn't have dragged that story out for. In fact, I was surprised they ended it the way they did.
I don't know what they would do in season 2 at this point
to drag that episode or that storyline out. But anyway,
yeah, I enjoyed that also.
And I got my Fitbit finally. Came in the mail.
Oh,
so I'm back on my exercise regiment and. Those who are following me on Facebook, cheer me on because I'm posting my updates so that I can stay accountable. And
hooray!
I've been able to exercise every day this week, whether it be walking outside on the nice days or treadmill on the inside on the not so nice days. And then
we had a reversal on that pretty quick.
So today I needed to get something in, and I knew I was going to get a full workout in because I actually had to go into work today and work. But I knew I was going to get a full workout, but we had stuff going on all morning. So I decided to bundle up and take a walk and just do the short route for today. And I didn't get quite a mile, but as I was walking, I knew it was icy because I'd been out driving around. And I slipped like 3 times and only fell once. So,
wow.
Yeah. I got done and I thought, why did I do that? Sidewalks were icy. But yeah, so that's going well. And it's been real helpful. And it really kind of blew my mind because when I got it, before I got it, I thought, okay, this is the charge. This is the Fitbit charge. And I thought I had read that it tracked your sleep. And so the first day I laid down and was trying to figure out how the sleep thing worked, I saw on the app that I have that I downloaded to accompany it to my cell phone, because that's where it syncs all your information to, it had a button where I have to push when I go to sleep, or where I thought I had to push to go to when I go to sleep and when I get up, because I knew it would track my movements, but I had no idea how the thing would know I went to sleep because it doesn't have a heartbeat monitor on it. And so for the first 2 nights, I did the going to sleep now, and then in the morning when I get up, wake up now, so that I set the in point and the out point essentially. Mm-hmm. And then later that second day, I had walked like an hour. I had walked a mile and had done a lot of running around and was really tired, and so I laid down on the couch, took a nap for about an hour, and I got on in the afternoon to look my stats over and see where I was, and it said my sleep was 7 hours and 14 minutes, and I only slept 6 hours last night. So I got a little more than 6 hours, and so I got to looking at it, and right there at about 11 o'clock when I took my hour-long nap, where it was, and I went, didn't know when I went to sleep. So I got on and did some reading and found out that it actually does know when you go to sleep. It by some sort of algorithm, once you've been still for so long, it determines that, okay, you're asleep. And what it does is it backs up to the least restless part and marks it there. Because you might have fallen asleep, for, I think it goes for like 5 minutes of inactivity, and then realizes you've been asleep. So for all of that inactivity, you get credit for. And then when you wake up and you start moving in the morning, it realizes you're awake and marks that you've been awake. And then what it does is throughout that course of when you were sleeping, it marks active moments. It doesn't mark awake moments, but any time that you get into an active sleep. But it won't register on just a basic rollover in the middle of the night. You have to actually have moved around. So because there's several times in the evening where you become very active, where you move around a lot more, and that's the ones that it records because it's trying to determine how restful your sleep was. So just a basic rollover from left to right or a turnover, it's not going to count that because you're still asleep. Your body just happens to be readjusting itself. But
See,
if
I
you
tend to wake up whenever I roll over.
if you get into this, we'll see. Then it might be a little inaccurate for you. But when you get into a pattern where you're active for more than so many minutes, then it'll record that as active. It doesn't count it as awake. Shocked the heck out of me.
So if you just sat down and just sat there very still for a little while, they would think
you
you're
could,
asleep.
but you'd have to do it for 5 minutes, and you would have to not move that arm ever in that 5 minutes. So it's amazing science, if you ask me.
That is pretty impressive.
And it tracks your stairs, and so Sean has gone into inactive mode.
Right.
So am I boring you, Sean? So it tracks your
I just wanted to
stairs
see if I
too,
could do
which
it.
I thought, okay, what?
to wear one
How does
first.
it know that I'm going up and down stairs? But apparently, it determines the barometric pressure. It changes as you reach more than eight
Whoever
stairs.
designed this software is pretty impressive.
That's it. There's no
That's it.
no interface, or it's
No,
it's just a
it's
tiny
interface.
little watch face
It's
on
got
it.
a
It's
watch
not
face
like
on
a.
it, which has the
Some
time.
don't have an interface,
No, but
right?
none of our listeners
It looks
can
like
see this.
it looks
but
like a wristband. I was thinking
There's
it would
your
look
time.
like a Dick Tracy watch.
There's that's how many steps I've taken. Now this started over at midnight, so
You haven't
so
moved since
steps
midnight.
taken.
It's lying.
I've been walking around.
We started the
I've
show
gone
at midnight.
0.11 miles. No, we didn't.
No, we
it's
didn't.
Like,
Did?
it's like
Why?
1 o'clock now. 159
Oh, horse pucky.
calories burnt. I haven't taken any stairs, and there you go. So.
Okay. Reveal yourself, tiny sorceress.
Anyway, I've drolled on long enough.
How'd the Derby go?
Went
Yeah,
real
how did the
well.
Derby?
Friday morning, I got up and went to the store because I realized it was running out of time, and I got my weights.
Friday morning.
Friday morning.
the Saturday Derby.
For Saturday Derby. But I knew that was the last thing I had to do because we'd had everything else done with it. So I had to go get the weights and put the weights on Saturday and came in at 4.9 ounces, which it has to be 5. Like it has to be 5 or under. And so was a little worried because if the scale was off by much, then we might have to pull some weight off of it. But we got there and checked in Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and we were still at 5.9 or 4.9. So he raced. What they did is they did it in heats. So 4 cars race at a time, and they race 4 times because you get the chance to race on each section of the track. There's 4 sections on the track.
That's fair.
To make it
That
fair.
is fair, yeah.
And then what they do is they take of the 4 runs. They take your worst time and throw that one out, and then they take an average of your 3 times, and so that's how you determine in the heat whether you move on. The first 3, he came in second place. Now, by second place, I mean he crossed the finish line, or third. I'm sorry, he crossed the finish time third those 3 heats, and second the last heat. And so, unfortunately, not enough as far as our time average to get us into the finals, but we had a lot of fun. And then they had a concession stand and a cakewalk because they were trying to raise a little bit of money because popcorn sales were a little slow this year. And so he won a cake. So he was totally excited that he won a cake, and suddenly it didn't matter that he didn't make it into the finals. So,
Oh, at least as long as he enjoyed it.
but he'll get a participation badge and a merit and everything. So it went well, and then the kids had basketball. So I missed Caitlin's game because we were Pinewood Derby, but then I took him to his game in the afternoon.
Cake.
The cake's alive.
I should have brought the rest of it here. The kids nearly polished the thing off in a weekend, and I haven't had one piece. 'cause
Good
it's on my
job.
diet.
I might have some 3-2-1 cake still in the clobbered.
Did you say clobbered?
Clobbered.
Clobbered.
In the
It's
clobbered.
clobbered.
That's it. That's about all I did this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Still
a lot of French studying.
Well, if there's nothing else, let's move on.
News. First up, a long-lost interview featuring William Hartnell has been recovered in part by the BBC.
Was it in Nigeria?
I don't think so. He was interviewed by Roy Palmley for the home service radio program Desert Island Discs in 1965. The edition was transmitted August 23rd while Hartnell was at the height of his powers as the Doctor. It was thought lost in a race by the BBC. However, it is understood that a 16-minute section has been recovered and will shortly be available on the BBC iPlayer. And yeah, the Desert Island Discs celebrated its 73rd anniversary earlier in the day. earlier this week.
Earlier in the day. Well,
Earlier in the day.
Earlier in the day, one of day this week.
Cool.
So-
Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
And that's exciting that there's a new interview. Or a new old interview.
The Desert Island Discs is what Desert Island Who based their podcast around.
Ah.
This is that,
Okay.
where you get to choose certain things to
The one
take
that
to a
you've
desert
been
island.
featured on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never sent him. I'm a horrible person.
They never contacted me.
I told them to.
Because we know what you would take on your desert island.
Besides the six-pack over here?
Doctor Who Legacy.
Twin Dilemma.
Just for the strip for action.
I would take Twin Dilemma, and I would bury it in the sand.
So I never have to see it again.
And then I'd draw a treasure map to lead to it. And then I would lose it.
You could use the CD case to fashion a flotation device.
Made entirely of coconuts.
And Twin Dilemma.
Unfortunately, Twin Dilemma has a hole in the middle of the DVD. And my boat leaked. And I wound up back on the island. And it sucked.
But the Globetrotters showed up.
At least it wasn't a polar bear. Or a smoke monster.
Smoke monster.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm watching Helix, and it's now set on
You
an
can tell
island.
the two
And I get-
generations sitting here at the table. It's just, and then
Over
the
on this
Globetrotter
side,
showed
look,
up.
Gilligan's Island. And on that side, Lost.
There was a polar bear and a smoke monster. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the age difference. That was Helix.
It's good so far. On an island. So it's kind of... They keep going, this island. And it's flashbacks to Lost. Keep expecting something weird to happen. And weird things happen, just not what I expect weird things to happen.
Okay.
Viruses running amok, you know. Another day in the neighborhood for Helix.
I will say this. Helix, the season 1 artwork of the guy looking into the microscope and whatever the black mass is kind of exploding out the back of his head is hands down the coolest, most striking piece of art I've ever seen in my life.
Have you seen season 2's poster?
No. It's enough to get me to want to watch the show, even though I have no time for
Such
it.
a good but bonkers show. The season 2 poster, the theme is play God, you die. And so it's a guy in a hazmat suit on a cross and all this weird yellow goo coming off of him.
Weird. How'd they get away with that?
I don't know. Siffy.
Anyway,
sorry.
Christians don't watch Helix.
I'm sure some do. In other news, a campaign is currently in progress to raise funds to publish a new book about Canine. Part of the description says, it's amazing there's never been a book dedicated to the full story of Canine and his adventures in time and space and beyond and the making of the TV shows in which he appeared. They look to correct this oversight and present an amazing volume of features, photos, and behind-the-scenes information.
did the article really say correct this oversight, or did you add that?
No, that's what that's what the person says.
Keith has already given $100 to the project.
It's a campaign through Indiegogo.
This just in, project fully funded.
I would definitely buy a book right away. And it's also going to they aim to have several new stories and comic strips from classic writers, including original co-creator Bob Baker.
Cool.
So, including some comic books. They're trying to get a 5,000-pound goal. So, if you want to go...
That's a heavy goal.
It is a heavy goal. Is that a ton?
5,000 pounds? Is that?
I don't know. How much is a ton?
2,000 pounds is a ton.
Several
That
tons.
would be 2.5 tons.
Ooh. That's that fancy math class.
You realize our British listeners are going, yeah! It's not what that means!
That's how much it weighs, right?
Do you know over in Britain they wouldn't call it that? It's because of the metric system.
No. They don't call it pound puppies. Over there, they call it
Puppies Royale.
Puppies Royale. Sorry.
What do they call a Smurf?
That's a Smurf.
Smurf's a Smurf, but they call it Le Smurf.
Yeah, that's it. Smurf's a Smurf. But they call it Le Smurf.
That's it for news. You got a tip for us?
You're fortunate. Because I'd forgotten. But I remembered something that I'm going to revisit. Although we should probably do the intro. This is our Doctor Who Legacy
Tip of the week.
And this week's tip I actually brought up last week because I discovered this, and there's a lot of people out there that probably are already aware of this, and I was just in the dark for this long, although I can't imagine that, or I can't believe that I've been in the dark. No, you'll remember. I think I, at least off mic, encouraged you guys to play the challenge levels. If you have teams that are amenable to playing the challenge levels, I encourage everyone to do so. The reward for completing a challenge level, and there are 13 now because 3 were added this week. If you play the challenge level and you complete it, it is worth 1 free time crystal. So there are a lot of them in here that are manageable. The first 2 are level 10 teams that can do it. The next 3 are level 20, which I think the average player probably has at least a level 20 team. There is 1 level 25 team. There are 2 more level 30 teams. There's a 40 and a 50. And then of the new ones that were just added this week, we have 2 level 35s and 1 level 40. So let's just say the average player probably has a team that they can manage at level 25. They have at least everyone they can get to that has a level 25. You can probably successfully draw down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 time crystals by completing those challenge levels. I have, going into brag mode, I have completed them all.
I actually took your advice and went and did some. And I thought, all right, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to go get some time crystals because I was having trouble with Chapter 3 level, and it's a lot of stones. So I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to go and get some time crystals and level up John Pertwee, the Third Doctor, because he sets the stone gems to pink. Except for when he's level 5.
Yeah, that should be a tip.
That's not his ability anymore when he's level 5.
Level 50.
50.
5 stars, yeah.
5 stars.
Well, what is his ability?
Or max level, I guess is what he's called.
I don't remember.
I also took your advice and went in and played some challenge levels and got those first 5. And just with some little, because of course you have to select certain...
Yes.
Yeah.
All
you can't go in with your team. You got to go in with
challenge levels have
piecemeal.
A base choice that you have to use. So that's another important thing is before you play those challenge levels, go in there, find who you need, and make sure you've got that person leveled up.
Yeah, there are some I can't do because I don't have the brig yet.
Or make sure you've dropped, yeah.
So I kind of went in and cobbled together. And I was being lazy. I didn't want to have to reset my perks. So knowing what my perks were, I built a team based around that, even though I had these other 2 people on there
That's
that I
actually
had
a
to
good
use.
idea. That's a good idea.
And I did okay until I got up to whatever the level 25 one was and put some fresh meat on that one.
The Seventh Doctor Challenge.
The Seventh Doctor Challenge, and did not fare so well.
Oh.
So I brought my screeching halt and was like, okay, I'm going to have to come back here with a reformulated plan on this one. But now that I know what the level's about,
So his new ability, is it the white that's full, or is it green? Do you know?
White, there aren't any whites. Blacks?
No, I'm like in the description. There's
Whites.
the white text or the green text.
The white text is his first ability, I think, and it's... Yeah, the white text is his first level ability, and then the...
So his...
I say level ability. It's the first combo ability once you reach a certain...
Is deal 30 damage. I'm not sure if that's... Do you have... How far do you have? You have him up all the way?
I do have him. I've got everybody max.
What do you have?
2 enemies' current HP. So it's 30% across the board to everybody.
Yeah, and so the full power combo is drop 10 yellow gems after eliminated.
What does it mean? After eliminated?
You know?
After you've eliminated gems on the board. So
after your turn.
up to no, not after your turn.
So
After you've eliminated the gems that you have made,
so you choose it, and then
combinations with. Then once those are gone, the gems that drop in after that are how many yellows?
yellow, 10 yellow,
10 yellow.
Well, now is that really what that? Because everybody else who has that ability says after turn. It's phrased differently.
It's still after your turn, but you get those.
This is
those add to
mid-turn.
your. This says
Wouldn't it?
mid-turn.
Well, it says after eliminated.
Okay, so let's
After the gems are eliminated.
After
Okay,
turn
gotcha.
would be after your turn is completely done, right? It would
Well,
then,
it can't do it then because
Well,
there's nowhere to drop them in at.
It's after you take your turn. Now, your turn is your movement.
Right.
As the gems fall, your turn's over, but now the attack comes. So you take a turn, and then the next thing in line is your attack.
I just wonder why it's phrased differently
And
for
that
him
is
than
interesting.
it is.
I hadn't noticed that, but it does the same as all the other ones, where as soon as gems on the board are eliminated, and whether it be one gem or all of the gems, up to 10 gems will drop in, and you continue the attack process. So it continues to accumulate your attack bonuses based on those 10 gems that drop. So you can actually build upon combos that way as well.
So now my question is,
I believe I'm somebody should correct me if I'm wrong, but because I haven't played with the Third Doctor that frequently, but I did at one time when I was using a all yellow team.
Mm-hmm. So my question now is there a companion that eliminates angel stones, angel gems?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. There might be, but that's something we should point out is remember
Is there a way to undo it?
when you're upgrading your doctors, their top level ability sometimes will change when you move to the next level. In that doctor's case, you lose that. That happened to me on a first doctor when I upgraded him past his 4th star and into his 5th star. He no longer had the reset all gems option. I think
unlock all gems.
Unlock all gems. Which
do you know what it is now?
It might be reset now that I think about it. No, it wasn't, because I actually had to go find a companion that would reset the gems so I could get rid of the locked gems. But I sure.
So this changes now completely who I'm going to try to level up next.
The first Doctor's ability now after that is drop 10 gems after eliminated. So. Yeah, I lost that ability, and I was so excited, but I had just upgraded him right before I decided that I could use him on a team to do that.
Well, you remember me telling you the War Doctors flipped. That his went from the first... which one was it?
Stun all and then deal 40.
It used to be that he did 30 damage as his first one,
Right,
and then went to stun.
Yeah.
And once I leveled and maxed him out, it flipped those two, and now it's stun enemies for 4 turns as the first one, and do all the damage. So I was fighting a really, really tough enemy, not knowing that had changed. Got my thing, went, yay! And went to kill them, and it stunned them for 4 turns. And it was one of those enemies that shrugs off stun like, I don't need this. So it was a complete waste of the... I was like, oh, man.
So, we should call this one Tips of the Week. So be aware that when you're maxing up doctors, that their abilities do change when you reach
although
level 5.
Some
or,
don't,
because...
5 stars. Well... Some change and some just increase because,
That's what I say, some,
yeah.
Anyway,
I've only got
challenge
4 all the
levels
way up.
Definitely. If you're looking for some quick time crystals, you've got some pretty decent teams. Go in there and play those. As I mentioned this week, they ended the fan week number 1 on Wednesday, and so you no longer get those bonuses. But kind of as an aside to soften the blow of pulling that away from us, they gave us the option of 3 more challenge levels, which they're tough. I'll give them this. They're tough challenge levels for anybody that doesn't have as many characters maxed out. I did that. I did all 3 in less than 2 minutes. So there wasn't much challenge there to me, but that's my fault for being so far along, I suppose.
That's right.
Because you're awesome.
So that is your Doctor Who Legacy
Tip of the week. Boom, 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 boom.
Well, then we shall move on
You know,
to
I'd get to recycle that feedback jingle once upon a time.
feedback.
Of the week.
doesn't work as well.
I'm sure Odd Duck Phil will call me out for that.
First up in feedback.
Who's up in feedback?
Mike. Mike writes in, comment, question, hi guys. In reply to Carry On movies, they are a law of diminishing returns. However, there are some that I really enjoy, and I have 3 recommendations. Carry On Screaming as a pastiche of Hammer horror and a lot of cheesy fun.
Oh, cool.
Carry On Follow That Camel has Phil Silvers playing a version of Bilko in a Bo guest type thing. And finally,
if anybody knows, Phil Silvers played Sergeant Bilko on a TV series in the United States back in the 1960s, and there was a remake film with starring Steve Martin in the 90s. No, I think it was even in the 2000s, wasn't it? Early 2000s, might have been in the late 90s. Anyway,
somewhere around
late
there.
90s.
It's turn of the century.
Sergeant Bilko is in charge of the motor pool, and they are the kind of misfit group of soldiers that Bilko is known for kind of wheeling and dealing, doing side jobs and things, and getting things and benefits for his squad, and of course undermining his command, his captain, in order to kind of slip things under the radar and fraternize with the women, and their group is always trying to make an extra buck on the Army's payroll and that kind of thing, and of course hilarity ensues. And Sergeant Bilko, actually, little known fact, was the inspiration for the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Top Cat, which was a group of alley cats.
Oh.
Top Cat playing in the basically role of Sergeant Bilko.
That's why he sounds like Bilko.
He sounds just like Bilko. In fact, Hanna-Barbera often did that, where they would take things that were already pop culture topics or icons and turn them into short cartoon spoofs. So, anyway, that's Sergeant Bilko.
And he says, finally, Carry On Up the Khyber. Lots of stupid fun in the times of the British Raj. Have fun, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
Mike.
Mike.
I'm going to check some of those out, even though some of them don't sound like they are as good as others. But
up next in feedback, Ben.
Sorry, my computer locked up. There we go. Which one was Ben?
It's his second feedback.
The second
you
one.
ended up getting both because, yes, Ben, we did get the old one that you sent on accident. So we're aware of that, and we will take steps to make sure we don't read out one from 2 weeks ago. Ben had some trouble sending an email this week.
Gotcha.
And when he finally got it to go through, he had accidentally sent his last feedback as well. So that's why we have a couple from him.
I wondered about, because it started with I didn't hear my feed, and I was like, I know we read this one.
He's really drilling that home.
I know. Okay, so
No, it was an accident this week.
Ben writes, I'm only here so I won't get fined. Hey guys, sorry to hear there was 0 feedback last episode. I had some stuff in mind and just let myself get sidetracked. That's okay, so did we. So here's what I had going. First up, Big Finish and the Subscription Issue. Sounds like a great episode title. I both thank and curse you guys for your attempt to clarify this for me.
Well, so we failed.
I'm still as befuddled as before. Quite a while ago, I had tweeted Big Finish this same question, and they were kind enough to respond. But the response left me just as confused. I'm probably wrong, but this is how I'm looking at the issue right now. The subscriptions are like the Columbia House CD Club. You sign up, and they send you a monthly selection. If this is indeed how it works, then it's not for me, at least not yet. A bundle of the complete 3rd season is more likely what I want for now. Perhaps once I've gotten the 3rd season of the 4th Doctor Adventures and whatever there is of a 4th, a subscription may then be an option. Once caught up with Tom's run, I'm open to pretty much the whole Big Finish catalog. As a side note, I should have asked Nick when I sat down with him at Chicago Turtles. Thought it crossed my mind that night, in fact. I chose not to, simply because there were others at the table, and I didn't want to dominate my time with my issue.
Although if Nick knew he was getting another sale, he would have devoted all his time to you.
And I'm sure there were other people at the table that probably had the same question.
That's probably true, yeah.
Well, I'll make you a deal, Ben. I apparently, because this is something that none of our listeners have come forward and have been able to satisfactorily answer for us, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably a fairly common question that a lot of people have. Mm-hmm. So I will make every effort to track Nick down at Galley.
You're going to see him in a couple of weeks, so
and I will get those answers out of him.
Ask the hard questions.
I will ask the hard questions. How does this work? Lastly, I myself buy the CDs. I know it's more expensive, but the digital version is free with the CD. I've also had a lot of trouble getting iTunes to the like the digital downloads from Big Finish. I much prefer to load the CD into my computer and upload it. There's also something to be said, and I think I've kind of mentioned this, at least on the DVD end as well. I'm a package whore. I like to have my boxes and my artwork.
I like to see it on the shelf.
On the shelf. And with Big Finish, it's certainly a very slippery slope because there is so much of it. But they're so pretty. Next up, Legacy. Since my last feedback, I've topped 70 companions, all of whom are at least level 20. I've also hit the 320 stars mark. And this is all thanks to the Fan Area Appreciation Week 1. I spent a lot of time in the fan area leveling up companions and stockpiling fragments. During the week, I was able to grab about 300 of the black, blue, and green.
Wow.
What? I got like 5.
You can only have 150, though, in your coffers, so you can only hold up to 150.
But I'm sure he was using them, too. But
well, probably, yeah, because if he was leveling up, then he was, yeah. I think that's what he's saying, is he didn't max out and have 300.
Well, still,
he was saying that he just kept collecting and leveling up. So
I got 5. I need black and blue and
Sean's
green.
Jealous.
I'm very jealous. I burned through a lot and was able to restockpile them before the week was up.
Sean, I wish I could give you some of mine.
Oh,
here's what I'm struggling with now because you can't get those in the fan area.
Nope. Chris from RFS clued me into the level 10 challenges in the fan area for the fragments. The levels were about a minute each to complete and dropped as many as 10 various fragments each time. I also took Glenn's advice and played the challenge levels for the crystals. At least I did the ones I could. There are 3 I need companions for still. In the end, I was able to buy the TARDIS with the crystals from those challenge levels. Moving on. 2 episodes ago, you guys were talking about Burn Gorman, and there was a show you couldn't remember that he was on. You didn't mention it, so maybe this is the one. He was on Revenge. I don't think so. Not a show I watched myself, but I did check it out when I heard he was going to be on it. Byrne is a very nice guy. I met him at Chicago TARDIS 2012. We did a pro photo with him and also an autograph. He was so nice that when we brought our photo to have him sign it, he stopped the autograph session for us. My son and I had not looked closely at the photo, and Byrne had, though, before the autograph session, and he'd noticed it was blurry. So again, he stopped the line and said, "Hey, you're the ones whose photo turned out bad. Let's do another right now." Aww. And he got up and went and did just that. Now, that year it's at Chicago TARDIS, you could pay a lower rate and do a pic with your cell phone, but we'd chosen the pro photo. After the photographer snapped the replacement pic, Byrne turned to us and asked if we had our mobile on us and said, "Well, let's do one of those free so you have a pic for sure." I've attached that cell phone pic that was taken that day.
Oh, very cool.
Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Time to punch that clock and finish out my day. Hope everyone is well. Take care. P.S. Sean, you've talked about Legoland lately. We have one here as well. It's near Chicago TARDIS, actually. And I was wondering, did you do the pick made out of Legos? We did our first time and love it. We also love the pirate ride with the laser pistols. I totally dominated my wife and kids. Ben, we did not do the Lego picture. Katrina,
was that an option?
It was an option.
I don't remember seeing that when we were there.
It was. I want to say it was toward the end of the day that we noticed that was an option, or maybe it's the photo they take when you walk in, and we just didn't go back for it. I don't remember. Katrina was getting fussy by that point, and we decided we were kind of done with Legos for the day. But I've kind of been looking on the Legoland website, and there are some much bigger ones out there in other areas that kind of put ours to shame once I realized what they could actually do, like an outdoor park where they build real buildings and stuff.
This is a full-fledged amusement park, isn't there?
Yeah.
Something in California.
So,
well, they had actually talked about building one out there by Eudora. You remember that, like 7-8 years ago?
I do kind of remember
and it
that.
fell through where that munitions plant it was. They were going to buy that land up and build it there, and they didn't. I think the economy started going sour, and so
that's when that
plans
happened.
fell through.
Well, thank you, Ben.
Ben, since you mentioned Byrne, I'm glad you did, because I forgot to mention last week when I was talking about watching Johnny English Reborn, Byrne Gorman is in that as well.
Oh.
Yeah, he plays kind of a...
He sounds like a really awesome
henchman
guy.
character. So.
Oh, nice.
He does that a lot.
Next up in feedback, Eric.
The Censorites. Hey guys, I hope you had a good week. Mine's been pretty good. The highlight coming not very long ago. I was more or less successfully able to introduce Star Wars to my family this weekend. Hooray! My wife had honestly never been into Star Wars. This was partly due to only having seen Empire and Jedi out of order long ago, a galaxy far, far away, without the original to make sense of it. She couldn't see a coherent story, was thoroughly grossed out near the beginning of Empire. You know which scene I'm talking about. Remember, she saw Jedi first, which is a lot more tame. That's certainly true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thought it was just about blowing stuff up and just wanted to explore the USS Enterprise instead. As for my sons, they've been sort of tangentially exposed to Star Wars for a while, either through winning some free toys at various places or through Angry Birds Star Wars. But when I had tried to get them to watch it about 6 months ago, my oldest told me it was too scary, and my middle son left to watch his older brother play on his Kindle. Sigh. But then a few weeks ago, a friend posted a link about the Machete Order on Facebook, and I got really excited about Star Wars for the first time. Then a little later, another friend posted about showing it to his son for the first time, and I suggested the Machete Order in a comment. My wife then saw the comment and thought Star Wars actually sounded interesting for once, and she wanted to give it a go. And then I got my oldest son to agree to watch it as a family, so he could cuddle with us in the intense parts. We watched Star Wars: A New Hope yesterday, and Empire today, and the boys were engrossed. Well, my youngest fell asleep during both, probably for the best, and my middle boy fell asleep during Empire. They were up pretty late. Unfortunately, my oldest, the usually most expensive son, it is expressive. Okay. My usually most expressive son was so tired and engrossed that the reaction video I took of the reveal showed no reaction until Luke was hanging from under Cloud City. And then he was just asking questions about how Cloud City was made. I'll give his younger brother another chance this week to watch it. Oh, and for the record, I was swapping discs to get my picks of the best versions, alternating between the original releases and the 2004 editions. For the first, I started with 2004, swapped to the original at Mos Eisley, and swapped back after the escape from Tatooine. For Empire, I started with the original and swapped to 2004 after Vader's conversation with the Emperor. I think with Jedi, I'll go with mostly 2004, but swap to the original just long enough to get the Lapti neck instead of Jedi rocks. Moving on. And anybody that doesn't know Star Wars is completely confused by that statement, but I'm just going to leave it alone. I think we talked a little bit about the Machete Order several podcasts ago. Yeah. So, moving on. Legacy. Congrats on getting all the characters, Glenn. You breeze through those expert levels in no time. I'm right behind you. I just need time to max out Martha Plus, which is Martha expert level. And then I should be able to get Mickey Plus, also Mickey expert level. I'm curious which expert level gave you the most trouble. I think the Vastra Plus level was probably the trickiest for me. Also, I have a bit of correction to make. Not all of the expert versions are merely enhancements over the normal versions. Your example of K9 Plus is actually a green converter instead of a black stunner. That's right. Oh. I realized that this week as I started playing with him. Oh, and Lee explained what's been going on with the missing character. It's a nameless placeholder character they've been using to playtest a new ability called Illuminate that will be used in the next part of Chapter 4 for fighting the Vashta Narada.
Good.
Ooh, the Vashta Narada are coming.
Oh, and one quick question. How many stars do you have? I think I'm at 589 right now. Well, I just sat here and bragged to Sean off mic about my measly, what I have, 500 and I don't remember.
Three.
I'll go back over.
Oh, you are at 500.
If I get out of there, I'll go back over there and revisit that. As for the Sensorites, I have to admit it took a long time for me to get through this, and this seems to be the problem I've had with all of the Hartnell stories I've seen. I'm not sure if it's a production thing. It's hard to follow and stay engaged, but that the Sensorites are kind of annoying, or that the Doctor just isn't terribly likable. It was a clever twist that the monster, quote-unquote monster, was actually just humans hiding in the aqueducts, but the science lesson that confused irises with pupils was weird. And am I the only one that thought of the Twilight Zone at the first cliffhanger? There's someone on the wing. I'm out, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
And I think we will address those Sensorite issues when we get to those in our review.
I'm really hoping that Illuminate ability takes care of the problem of when all the gems go dark.
Oh,
that's what I meant. That like in Beast Below and stuff.
I hadn't thought of that. That would be kind of
nice.
That
would make sense for the
there would be
ability
it'd be nice to have an ability in order to counter that, because we have counters for stun, we have counters for locks, we have counters for.
Some of us had counters for stones.
Well, we have counters for.
But I'm not bitter.
We don't have counters for the creating the negative gems, because even if you are able to turn those
positive,
it doesn't affect the ones that have already taken a draw. So that would be nice to be able to counter the blindness.
Yeah.
You mean blacked out, not necessarily black
out.
Gems. Yeah,
blacked out.
Eric, while I am ahead of you in the expert levels, I am behind you in stars. I only have 513 stars at this point. And I am going to pop into the expert levels real quick, because I can't recall off the top of my head, now that it's been a while, what one I had the most difficult with.
I have 325 stars.
I'm mid-level, so I can't look how low of stars I have.
I have not managed to tackle an expert level yet.
Actually, you know what, Eric? I had trouble with two
I tried
of
an
them.
expert level once, and it laughed at me.
And it wasn't...
What are you bringing that? Get out of here, kid.
It wasn't until I came into this with a maxed out team of 50. I got to get in here because I can't remember if this for sure was it. 2 shakes. Nope, that wasn't it. Dang it. Oh, of course. I can't remember now. It's been so long. It's whichever level has the Satan Pit characters with the 2 Oods and the Beast. No blue gems save the world. No, that wasn't it. I had some amount of difficulty with until I maxed out and got some pretty strong 50 level teams, and I can't even remember exactly which team I used. But there was that one, and I think the other one that I had some trouble with was the one with the silence. None of these are looking familiar when I look at the labels on them, but the silence, whichever one that was probably the one I had the most difficult with, because there's like 8 or 9 levels. And it seemed like I would get to level 8 or 7, somewhere around there, and die. Which is the most frustrating, because they're not easy levels. And so once you've gotten through 7 of these levels, and you get to 8 and die, and you have to start all over again, that kept over and over again. I kept having issues with that one. And so that one there, those 2 were certainly, just off the top of my head, the ones I had the most difficult with. There was also another timed one that I struggled with for the longest time, because it looks so easy, but then you get in there and you just absolutely have no time at all. I think there's less than 100 seconds to do this thing.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. But when I found out that if I went in there with an team of all of the same color and just completely perked out that particular color and concentrated on it, I could actually knock that enemy down very quickly. And so that one I struggled with a little bit at first, but then when I realized what I needed to do, that one was kind of a quick turn for me. So those are some of them, and I wish I could say to you, I'm looking at the level titles right now, but I can't based on the titles, I can't remember which ones were which. So
I have 214 stars.
Good for you.
Yeah. Well, how many do you have? 300?
325.
Keith, have you unlocked the fan area?
I have not. I was so close. By the time I was like, I should do that, and then I'm just going to wait till the next fan appreciation.
You know what you can do? You can use time crystals to unlock the... Oh, no, you have to buy. You have to purchase.
You have to purchase.
You have to purchase.
I was
That's
waiting
right.
until
You have to
payday,
actually
and then
make
it
a
was like,
purchase.
too,
You have to actually
too close.
make a purchase. All right, next up.
Chrissy! Chrissy writes, all in the mind. Dear Vortex Boys, well, now I feel bad about not writing in last week.
Nobody should feel bad.
Chrissy, don't.
No one should feel bad.
We were joking with our...
Especially Chrissy, who's going to have a lot less time in her hands.
Yeah,
You should all feel
congratulations, by the way.
horrible. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Our loyal fan base of
Our
listeners.
thousands of
Where were
listeners.
you? I'm kidding.
Even though I didn't have anything to contribute, really. A bit of housekeeping.
We kind of blindsided everybody with our Beyond the Doctor. The
Yeah.
ability to get that movie was probably not as easy as getting Doctor Who.
Hopefully our future ones will be a little easier.
Hopefully.
A bit of housekeeping. I got a new job as a full-time writer for a political commentary website. If anyone really wants to know more details, send me a message on Twitter or something. I don't like mixing politics and fandom very much. I'm really excited about this because I love writing, and to be able to say I'm an actual paid professional writer has been a dream of mine since I was a kid, and it's something that I never thought I'd get to do. Thing is, until I know how much this new job is going to impact my free time, I need to step back from a few things, including the Traveling the Vortex book club, just for the time being. I'm not going away forever, I'm just letting other people take charge until I can fit it back into my life again. So until further notice, Brittany, Mish, and Holly, all from the Five-ish Fangirls, have graciously agreed to run the book club in my absence. So check the
Yay.
page for updates, and I'm sure they will write in to say what's all going on. Congratulations, Chrissy.
Congratulations on the new job,
Congratulations.
and thank you so much for the work that you have put in on the book club, and I'm sure we will see you back in that capacity again, and thank you very much to the girls for taking that over.
Yes.
And I am ecstatic that you have this new job, and I'm so glad you're living out your dream. And I will apologize right now because I probably won't read your posts. Because I think we have different views on politics. And it might just make me mad to read them. So luckily, we have a lot of common ground in our fandoms.
Other
So
common
we have a
grounds.
lot of things to talk about.
Yes.
It's like me talking to my family. As long as I leave religion and politics out of it, we have a great
You're
time.
golden, yeah.
There are 3 things you should never discuss with friends and family: religion, politics, and the Great Pumpkin.
But yes, congratulations,
Yeah.
Chrissy. That's exciting. I wish I could do something like that. That
Yeah.
would be so much fun.
She goes on. Other stuff. Interstellar's an awesome movie. And the fact that it didn't get any Oscar nomination, just more proof that there's no reason for me to give a crap about the Academy at all. Seriously, I was totally immersed in that movie, and I walked out of the theater and couldn't remember what year it was. I had to remind myself that Earth wasn't experiencing massive crop failures, and Matthew McConaughey wasn't out in the extreme reaches of space trying to find a new planet for humanity to inhabit. I definitely see why Christopher Nolan has so many fans of his movies.
It was an intense one.
It was. All right, Doctor Who stuff. Here we go. The Censorites. I know the story catches flack from fandom for various reasons, but I have no idea why. Sure, it's a little talky and gets wrapped up in philosophy. Sean, can you help me out?
Philosophy?
No, because it's
Philosophication? I don't know. I'm not looking at it.
philosophizing.
Philosophizing.
I think that's a made-up word.
That's the act of
Well,
philosophy.
technically, they're all made up words.
Somebody made them up at some point.
I have trouble with philosophical sometimes, too.
Oh, look, you got it, though.
I got it, though. It's my Legopolis.
We're not going there. I've already mastered Legopolis.
But it's a pretty solid piece of writing.
Benedict.
Not going there either.
Even the scenes where there's not a lot much talking, the acting tells a spectacularly intense story. I think in particular of the scene where Ian and Barbara are slowly walking through the spaceship and they almost get cornered by a Sensorite. Plus, there's a lot of good stuff, really good stuff for Susan to do. She gets to use her telepathy and be the hero of the story. I even care about the other characters, especially the human astronauts that were caught in this sense sphere. By the way, the sense sphere was mentioned in the planet of the Ood. RTD said in an interview once that the Ood and the Sensorites were supposed to be distantly related.
I can see that.
Yeah. Red, another fantastically spooky story. Big Finish seems to do a lot of semi-dystopia kinds of civilizations in their audios. And in this, you've got a planet made up of people who's had the violence and anger programmed out of them. But that turns out to be a big problem too. Not to spoil anything, but it reminds me of a crucial plot point from the last Divergent book. That there came a time in humanity's future history where they tried to rid themselves of certain emotions and personality traits. It's crazy weird to hear the Seventh Doctor be so angry and violent. Usually he's very calm and measured in his rage. Mel had a lot of great moments as well. Very enjoyable. One I'll want to listen to again soon. Okay, I'm done for the night. Hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy. And finally, Holly.
Holly writes, The Sensorites and Red. Hey guys, The Sensorites. A great First Doctor and Team TARDIS story with Susan, Ian, and Barbara. The whole thing with the Sensorites at first being invisible and being able to control the others on the ship that the TARDIS landed on had me interested as to how the rest of this was going to play out. And the whole thing with the locking mechanism for the TARDIS being stolen within the first few minutes of the first part of the story really tells you that these Sensorites mean business. The Doctor's piloting skills aren't that bad when push comes to shove when dealing with a non-Type 40 TARDISes. The twist with the city administrator lying to the First Elder about who killed the Second Elder, I didn't see coming. Ian to the rescue with his questions about what exactly the city administrator saw. The new Second Elder most certainly has Susan's attention, and she's not sure if he's trying to cover things up with the First Elder's death. The action then shifts to making sure the Doctor and Ian get found with the help of Susan, Barbara, and John. The ending, with Ian chiding the Doctor about his piloting skills and the Doctor taking offense to it, had me chuckling slightly. Ian knows that this is a sore point with the Doctor, and the Doctor's response shows that. Red. Mel and the Seventh Doctor team up again. White Noise reminds me a little bit of Hal, and with White Noise being able to edit and then being taken over by Red is interesting, and the symbolism of the title and then the use of the color is not lost on me. However, seeing Red rage and acting out on it, the chips getting infected and spreading, the reddening amps up the action, so you really don't know who to trust, if Mr. Blue is behind it or if it's White Noise. I'll wrap it up here. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on these two stories. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Before we move on to our reviews, I remembered something that I can't believe I forgot. So I was playing Lego Batman 3 and getting a mini kit, and
sorry, I'm dropping time crystals here. I'm getting excited.
And I built this red, large police box.
Like a London telephone booth?
London telephone booth?
It's not a London telephone booth.
It's actually a police box.
It didn't say police box, but it
was
the shape.
Resembles
because
the police box.
There's a level where you're actually in a shrunk down London and there are police boxes everywhere. No TARDIS to be seen. But it shows up, you get your mini kit, and then the light on the top flashes, and it kind of disappears and phew, goes off to the distance.
Oh, wow.
So more than the Vortex image from Marvel, Lego Marvel.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Somebody at Traveling Tales, is that the name of the company that does that?
That makes me think that they're maybe our dreams, hopes and dreams of a Doctor Who Lego game might someday come to fruition.
I'm calling it now. I want to be in on the creation of this.
Well, you heard about the other two they're making now.
I've already dreamed it. I know everything about how the mechanics of this game work.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic
World. Yeah, Jurassic
and,
World. I assume the other movies are going to be part of it.
I would presume they'll probably make those part of it as well.
And Avengers.
Yeah. We seem to wear it. We have Marvel superhero.
I assume it's going to be more movie-based.
Oh, I guess we do have Ultron coming. I keep forgetting Ultron.
Right.
And because Lego Marvel superheroes was very kind of comic based.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Quick
I'm glad you
tangent.
brought that up. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Shall we move on to our reviews?
Let's do.
The Sensorites. The Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Susan land on a spaceship orbiting a distant and mysterious world where a human crew lies frozen somewhere between life and death. The planet is the Sense Sphere, home of the Sensorites, beings of immense intelligence and power. Unable to leave, the Doctor and his companions must deduce the Sensorites' intentions. Are they friendly, hostile, or frightened? And what is the deadly secret at the heart of the Sense Sphere?
Okay, I'm going to break this down. Because for me, the first 2 episodes would get a dun dun dun, and then the 3rd and the 4th episode kind of get a dun dun dun, and then the 5th and the 6th episode get a dun dun dun. So it's kind of like that.
All right. Now we're going to pigeonhole you into giving it a dun 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 for the entire story. Where do we come in at that?
Dun dun.
No, it's a dun dun dun.
That was good.
Sounds like Close Encounters. Bomb bomb.
I have to agree with you, Sean, on that review.
We were sitting here Friday night watching this.
We were so engrossed in episodes 1 and 2.
Just, and I more than one comment about Glenn is smoking crack. What is wrong with Glenn for not liking
How
this?
can he not like this? This is amazing.
And when the thing showed up outside the window, that's scary. That's straight up legit, like cliffhanger, top of the line scares. Because it was just, there's a thing on the window. And then it got political.
And then they get down to the Sense Sphere, and episode 3, you hit a wall.
Yeah, you had a big wall in
I don't know
episode
if
3.
it was part of the time or just the pacing of it. It just screeched to a halt, and you had to switch gears. And then once you finally did switch gears, and maybe this is where breaking it up helped, and you could get in the political mindset coming back the next week for the rest of it. 4 was still a little slow, but started ramping back up, and then picked up by the end for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much like that.
A lot of great moments in this, despite Barbara being gone for 3 episodes. And
Which I can only imagine that
she was on holiday.
She was, gone.
And which gave us more
And we
opportunity.
spend 2 stories going, or 2 episodes going, hey, we should talk to them about bringing back Barbara. we should talk to them about
Ian
bringing
was
Barbara
so
down.
adamant about that.
Really wanted his Barbara back.
Well, and there was like at least one episode where Ian was
You know
out
who'd be
of it.
really good at this? Barbara.
And so with Ian and Barbara kind of out of the picture in some of it, it really gave Susan a chance to stretch her legs in a way we hadn't gotten before at this point.
Yeah.
Which was wonderful, I thought. I truly enjoyed Susan in this entire story. I thought she did such a good job as an actress and as a character, navigating through all the political machinations and figuring everything out and communicating. And I walked away from this with a higher respect for Susan than I have had before.
Yeah, I can see
That's my
that.
biggest takeaway from the story.
It's frustrating because there was so much to like, and maybe that wall in episode 3 is just because you had to, because the tonal shift was so different. I mean, really, this is definitely one of those that felt like, in a way, Seeds of Doom, where the first 2 episodes are in the Arctic and then, or the Antarctic, and then they go back to England, and all of a sudden it's a little different, or the complete tonal shift of Invasion of Time, that you get 4 episodes of this, and then all of a sudden it becomes a Sontaran episode, and you're like, oh, this had that where it was Ship Under Siege. I mean, you were base under siege.
Such great atmosphere.
Yeah,
Ship Under Siege.
It was wonderfully done, and it was intense. And the TARDIS lot gets stolen, and we've got these people, and what do we do? And they want us alive, but they're not afraid to scare the dickens out of us. And don't go in there. There's a crazy guy.
And this great ominous threat of the Sensorites, of these horrible monsters.
And fantastic music.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere was just awesome. And then it turns into this political thriller where we're dealing with the machinations of what's going on the planet, and who's trying to take over whom.
Which once you switch gears and readjust your brain to start thinking in a political story, it becomes interesting.
Yeah, it's not that that's a bad story at all. It just felt really weird tacked on behind. I don't know. It's almost like the writer maybe tried one too many times to pull the wool over our eyes, because we went from that to the political machinations to the it was actually the humans in the basement the whole time, which I didn't think was. I thought that was kind of telegraphed pretty early on.
Yeah.
And maybe structurally that just didn't work. I don't know. It's frustrating because I really liked most of it. And like I said, even the political stuff, I didn't mind. It was interesting and fine. It just really felt like coming down off that high from the first part.
I liked the Sensorites. The Sensorites, I thought, were a fascinating species once they were no longer this ominous monster in the background and became characters. Their weaknesses was interesting to explore this and the society that they were in, and the fear they have and what motivated them. All very interesting stuff.
And now one of the problems that I can foresee with this one is, now that I have seen it, I don't think those first two episodes are going to pack that same punch, because I know who the Sensorites are.
Oh, and they're not that scary.
They're not scary at all. I mean, when we finally see them in the light, not clinging to the outside of the window, they're rather ridiculous looking. They have beards on their faces and not on their heads, and they have big...
Well, they have beards on their heads and not on their faces.
Or vice versa. Yeah. And big suction cup shoes.
No, they just have big fat... round disc feet.
They're like
disc
ducks.
Feet. Yeah. And, they can't handle loud noises or dark. It's like, oh, okay.
Here's the thing is, I have never, ever told you guys I don't like the Sensorites. My exact words were, my exact words were, the problem with this is it shows so much potential but just trundles along. And that's my biggest problem with this story.
I see where the trundling is.
It shouldn't be 6 episodes long, and it shouldn't be 2 and 4, or, as you kind of even alluded to, 2, 3, and 1, because they never come through with any sort of great promise of where they're going with this, because you're exactly right. The first 2 episodes, and you hit the nail on the head. You will go back to this story someday and go, this whole thing is terrible. Not terrible. This whole idea of telling a story is a bad idea, because they're setting up this mysterious plot and trying to make the Sensorites be this malevolent, scary, mysterious thing, but all along, every time that the Sensorites show up, they're like all skittish and just
timid.
There you go. That's the word. They're just skittish and timid the whole time. And every time Ian lifts up the wrench, they as soon as Ian lifts that wrench and they do that flinch every time, suddenly the threat's gone.
Yeah,
for me the first
gone. Time. As soon as he did this, and they cowered.
Pretty much as soon as they get on the ship, it's kind of game over.
Now that we've established, all you have to do is bash their head in, because they're not going to do anything to you because they're scared of you. Then we have to add this element of, we can get the advantage on if we turn the lights out. Who the heck cares now? Just hit him with a wrench.
Punch him in the face. You're good to go.
So suddenly, once that first flinch comes... That whole mystery that could have been a really good story, could have been a really good element, is gone. It's thrown out the window. So now you're left thinking, oh no, this is first time viewing. You're thinking, where are they going to go with this? Because I've got at least 4 more episodes.
Four more episodes
to go. Where are we going to go with this? The other thing is, we have this. We have Maitland and Carol on the station, and we have this thing where they're basically, the Sensorites have instilled them with fear. That's ultimately, when you boil everything down and wade through all of the explanation that we got, which truly, once you get to the idea that they've just pretty much put fear in their heads, you didn't need all of this other weird weaving around trying to figure out what, how they were being controlled, because it was one simple element, and that was the Sensorites' only advantage or offense is the fact that they could do this. They could instill this fear. And I like the idea that the reason why they've basically imprisoned these people on their own spaceship or space station and not allowing them to leave is the whole idea of the fact that people had come before and were seeking this metal that they had, and they were going to run off with it, and they don't want this to happen again. So suddenly then, you've given the Sensorites a reason for doing this. So now suddenly, Story 1 and Story 2 are pointless. Because now you sympathize with the Sensorites. You understand their plight, and you understand the reasoning for it. So, okay, great. That's fine. Now we're going down to the planet and being all friendly and civil and diplomatic, and then this idiot shows up, and he spends 3 episodes trying to unravel everything that we've been putting together and doing a really poor job. No, doing a poor job at it. Because the story with the Doctor, this is just one. There are several attempts by this guy to undermine the Elder Number 1 and Elder Number 2, because he keeps going to Elder Number 2 and trying to make his point for why they need to drive the humans away or kill them or disintegrate them. He's tried to put them in the disintegration beam for like 3 times through the first episode, and the second Elder keeps coming in going, no, you don't need to do that now. We don't need to do it now. These guys are good. They're not lying to us. And actually, the only time I sympathize with the idiot guy is when he thinks that Ian's faking the poisoning to set them up. And I thought, okay, I kind of like that, because I know Ian really well and know that's not what's going on here, that he really is poisoned. But I can at least see your motivations based on that. You've got a point, looking from your point of view. But then, like, fumbling through trying to get this, and then facepalm when the guy goes, when Carol, is it Carol or was it Susan that said the only way you can tell each other apart is by the sashes? So Carol says that, and Caitlin's watching this with me, and she goes, "You dummy, you have an idea."
Which is a shame, because I really liked Carol as a character, and that was like, really?
But you know what? I don't care. Carol was stating a point of fact.
Yeah.
But if these idiots couldn't figure that out on their own,
they couldn't even tell each other apart without the sashes.
Unless he gets really close to me, he won't know who I am. What? So now you're in the political.
I want to say that's racist.
Now you're in the
is it racist if it's among your own people?
It's specious. Okay. So we're in the political machinations, and I appreciate the attempt here. Now I like the idea that now we have discovered. The Sensorites aren't really the bad guys. They have motivations for why they're keeping. So, now finally I'm okay with that. But now you're right. Now we've got this whole political intrigue and this weaving of power structure and struggle.
And there's just one guy that's trying to take over.
And he just keeps convincing idiot number 2 to go along with him. There's very little. You're going to give me a power, and you're going to give me a spot in government? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'll do it. So we travel along through that. And so when the Doctor discovers that the water's been poisoned, he goes down to the aqueduct, finds the deadly nightshade, and I'm thinking, okay, this was actually, it felt very predictable by the time we got to that point. I kept thinking, okay, this makes sense. I kind of saw this coming, and they had been telling us that for like 3 episodes. They really kind of dropped that information on us way early on.
Yeah.
So I'm just now tediously waiting for them to get to draw the conclusion of that. So that's fine. And I actually thought it was. I chuckled at the fact when he said, "Now go back to the Doctor's cloak." When he sends the guy in there to tell him that he had killed the Doctor had killed the second Elder because he saw him pull something out of his coat, and he goes, "Are you sure he was wearing a coat?" And he says, "Yes." And then Ian says, "Well, that can't be true because the Doctor had left his coat down in the aqueduct when he was attacked." And he goes, "Oh, well, I must have been mistaken. It was the cloak. He had the cloak on." And I'm laughing again because I'm like, Ian just totally setting this guy up because he had just gotten the cloak from the first Elder.
who was present in this conversation.
So I'm sitting here going, okay.
It was fun to see
This
Ian
is
jump
fun.
all
Yeah.
over that one, and not. I mean, because we've made the comments before that Ian, man of action,
Yeah.
and here he's doing that, but in a completely different way than what we normally. Because Ian normally is bash it with a wrench. That's kind of.
It was this wonderful courtroom drama thing, where he would just set him up. And so that's a nice little funny. Even though you're sitting there going, even before it's brought up, I know the cloak's going to play into something. And when he comes in and says the coat, then I go, okay, I know where this is going. So that's predictable. While it's a little bit of fun to watch, it's predictable. So I still feel like we're trundling along. And then you guys hit on the very last problem with this is we have spent 5 episodes telling 2 different stories only to throw the people that were left behind from the last crashed ship are the ones in the and then we don't do anything with them. We've got crazy commander who
we go get them out.
We've been fighting the war the whole time, and I'm going to get accommodations for. Oh, no, wait, you guys are spies for the Sensorites, and all of that is done in the span of 17 minutes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so we get to the end of that thing, and then we just kind of wrap it up and go on. And
we don't get to see Carol and John, or whatever his name, go back to their ship.
John.
Yes.
The man John.
The nail in the coffin. Before I get to the nail in the coffin, what you guys talked about, I loved about this. I love the exploration of Susan's character and the building on her character, and I think Susan absolutely shines in this. I think Barbara is such a very strong character in this as well, and she's a leader, and then she leaves. She doesn't leave,
and then
but
she
she's
comes
left
up,
on the station.
Then she comes back and fixes everything in an episode.
Exactly, and then she fixes everything, which is great because then she's back to that strong, okay, do something character.
We couldn't have had Susan down here earlier because it would have been 2 episodes.
I thought the acting was great, and I loved the fact that they were setting up these stories, but they didn't go anywhere, and that was the problem. So I was quite enjoying the setup, but then they were either dropped or made no sense. And then, so I loved those about it. So I don't hate this episode. It sounds like I'm just dogging on this episode.
It's got a lot of problems.
These are the problems here, are what makes it a trundling story. Because if you could narrow it down and tell the stories in the way that I envisioned the stories going, it probably would have been a better. Well, anything that I envisioned would have been a better story. But the nail in the coffin, though, is the very end scene where Ian makes the comment. We have spent this entire episode
getting along,
becoming very good friends. The Doctor making that wonderful, heartfelt statement, what started in a junkyard, has turned into a wonderful journey.
It's coming off the heels of the Aztecs, where they all pretty much got along and worked together.
Exactly. So,
except for Barbara.
We have made...
What'd you go do that for? Oh...
Chronologically, we have made strides in the companions, and Team TARDIS is really getting along, and they're enjoying themselves. And then Ian makes one comment, and the Doctor turns 180 degrees. Oh, you think I'm not? That's a he.
You can just get off on the next stop.
Way too sensitive, way too abrupt, way too 180, and it really felt like, because this is the last story of the season, I believe, the first season. I really believe they felt like they needed to bring that tension back into the crew so that we could revisit that again next season when the show's coming in back 1964, 1963. Yeah, when we bring it back
64.
to 64.
This aired in 64.
Yeah, so when we bring it back
in 65,
the following season, we've got something to rehash again, is what it really feels like. And so that's the nail in the coffin of this, is the ending is like, the Doctor did not, it needed to be a just kidding, and he says, oh my boy, you're just, and that's what I wanted at the end there. Instead we got this whole, okay,
actually there's one
back
more
to the status quo.
There's one more story in the season.
What was the next one?
Reign of Terror.
Oh, that's right.
That ended the season.
That's right. It was Reign of Terror was next. That's not on Hulu. That's why I was thinking that was the last. So,
but yeah,
in a nutshell, there was enough enjoyable of this story that I don't hate it, but there are so many things that add to that whole. Unfortunately, I just watched this last year, And now we put it on the schedule, and I was thinking, I've got to trundle through 6 episodes just so that I can refresh my memory on what all happened so that I'm fresh for this week in the show. So there you go. There's mine.
Like I said, there are a lot of things that I want to praise, and one of them is the writing of the characters. It would have been very easy to set up these telepathic monsters who instill fear, and done a whole bunch of Susan and Barbara cowering in corners and shrieking. You really could have done that. And
could have
instead,
spent the whole episode crossing a chasm.
We could have done that. But instead you got Susan being a very strong, really the linchpin to the whole thing is that she's the one that the telepathy kicks in, and, she can understand what's going on with
that.
That
was neat.
And Barbara, as you said, being the leader up on the ship and kind of taking charge. And it put Team TARDIS in a really nice kind of position that just right off the bat, they weren't affected by this.
Oh.
That we didn't have to go there with it. Right. It was just like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm immune. Let's go. That really kind of put a nice spin on it. I liked the rocket ship crew. I thought that Maitland and Carol were, pretty cool, and poor the man John.
That was an intriguing bit as well, and I like how they use the fact that John could sense the bad guys and the good guys, and it really felt like that was going to be. Actually, they did a nice job of this. Is I really felt like that was going to be our barometer, and that's how we were going to figure out who the bad guy was. And then when John's cured, I'm like, oh no, how are we going to tell who the bad guy is now? Because they all look alike, and he's wearing a sash now. So
unfortunately, we kind of tripped into that ending of that pretty quick. It was like, I threw one over your eyes, but now I'm going to give it to you anyway. It's like, I was glad that we didn't drag out for too long anyway the water. Because as soon as they said, we only drink from the pure spring water, and I'm screaming at the table, it's the water, doctor! Hurry up and figure this out!
That was another predictor.
And he starts to go through it could be this, it could be, we ate the same, no, you ate the fruit before he did, and I'm like, oh God, please don't let this be like 3 episodes of him trying to and then he goes, it's the water, and I went, oh, thank you.
All in the same episode.
And then to follow that up with an actual
science
scene, Here's the doctor doing science. It's like, man, we haven't had one of these since Pertwee. In the backwards way that we watch things. So it was cool to get that here's Hartnell in a lab. And it's not the TARDIS. It's some other lab. And he's doing science stuff.
I love how the irises dilate. Wait, what? Wait, what did he say?
The irises.
Did he just say the irises dilate?
The irises of your eyes. They dilate. You didn't know that?
I'm Gallifrey, their irises.
And I did that, and I went, okay, I'm just going to let that one go.
There was quite a few flub lines in this, not just from Hartnell either.
Hartnell called Cheston at one time instead of Chesterton. At least he didn't say Chesterfield.
But the Sensorites, a lot of it, they stumbled over their stuff.
The Sensorites had a lot of flub lines. Susan had a lot of flub lines.
I didn't notice the Sensorites so much. I didn't notice Susan had one.
It seemed like as it went on that maybe everybody was tired of working on this one because they were all kind of getting
they thought it was trundling too.
The end of a long season, and they're all like, more dialogue.
I wish I'd wrote this down, but there was one line that I'm certain that William Russell covered for William Hartnell, because he says something and then almost answers the same question, which to me felt like it should have been the doctor's line, and then the doctor goes on from there as though Ian kind of fed him the line by taking the line, and then William Hartnell figured out what was next, and so then carried it on. And I wish I would have wrote that down, because it was one of those moments that I went, I bet this is one of those times where William Hartnell forgot the line and was helped out right there on the spot. And I for the life of me can't remember what it was, but it was just one of, it wasn't like obvious, but knowing that what we know about what was happening to William Hartnell at the time now, it was one of those, like, I bet that was one of those moments where he was kind of fed the line so that he could continue on.
Well, and it just kind of reiterates how awesome, William Russell is.
Well, not just him, but the supporting cast to be able to do, because it seems like, from what I understand, a lot of them were doing that.
A lot of them had to do it
they
for
were
him.
Just kind of helping him along. So,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to go back and rewatch this, I think.
Yeah.
I'll be really
I'm kind of on the
curious to
fence
see.
on if I would want
You're
to
on
own
your
it
own.
and rewatch it.
You're on
Because
your
while
own
I,
there.
for the most part, enjoyed it going through it the first time, I don't know how much more enjoyment there will be rewatching.
You guys might notice how, because this is actually my third watching, because I saw this many, many years ago, and then I saw it last year because I wanted to. I was going back up through the Hartnell stuff because I was enjoying Hartnell. It was back about the same, soon after we had seen Adventures of Time and Space, and so I was going back and enjoyed a lot of the Hartnell stuff. And it was at that time that I remembered. Okay, I remember a lot of problems with this, and so this on this third viewing, it was really tough because it was like. In fact, I think I played a lot of Doctor Who, like so I watched it this time.
I might have to take a few years before returning to it.
Well, Mel was really frustrated because she did not make it through all 3 episodes 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, she fell asleep.
She fell asleep in the 3rd episode, and I kept trying to explain to her, I was like, you really didn't miss much because the episode took this left turn. But
I thought you fell asleep at one point.
She was right there for all of 1 and 2. But then she stayed with it for 3, 4, and 5, or for 4, 5, and 6. So again, maybe it's just that tonal shift is so different that...
Yeah.
You know, breaking it up in some ways helps, but you got to break it up between 1 and 2.
Yeah,
3, 4, 5, and 6.
but I wonder if that's maybe also why you guys don't. I think you guys acknowledged that it did, but you maybe don't notice how much it trundles. I keep saying trundle, but just drags. So maybe you don't because you guys did break it
'Cause
over
it's splitting it up, yeah.
2 weeks. So you did 3 and
I think
3,
that
which
did help
probably
it.
actually makes it go down a little easier when you take it in smaller doses.
And I'm sure when it originally aired week to week, it'd be very interesting for somebody to watch this that way and get their reaction now.
And I think that's certainly true with a lot of stories that we have said, oh, that just could have benefited from being one less story. Because a lot of times we watch these things in large chunks, small chunk or chunks at a time, or one large thing.
Well, even if we
We're
break
not
it up over
getting
2
the
weeks,
same-
we're technically still reviewing an omnibus edition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
there's something to be maybe said for doing them episode by episode. Maybe that would be an interesting experiment to go back and we'll spend a whole year, and every week you get 1 half-hour episode in sequence. And
It's always been my wish that eventually down the
Do a
road
story
with
a
this
month.
podcast we do. I think it would be fun to start from the beginning and go from beginning to end and do 1 week at a time and just kind of see, where it is and what that experience is like. Now, I don't know that we can do 1 episode 1 week at a time. That'd take us years to do, but.
Yeah.
At the very least, sit down from beginning to end and kind of give a different look at him in a different way.
You mean chronologically? What's that?
no, we don't do that here.
We don't do that
We
sort
don't
of
do
thing
that
here.
here.
Well, speaking of chronologically, let's jump.
Way forward, past the 5th Doctor's era.
Chronologically, we are doing it chronologically.
Red. The citizens of the Needle are all chipped to prevent them from committing violence. When the 7th Doctor and Mel arrive, they arouse interest as the only people able to cause harm.
Is that all we get?
Yeah, that's
That's the whole synopsis.
No, that's not the official one. That's the short version
That's the
I
short
found
version.
because the other one was 4 paragraphs.
Oh, that was a lot. Dun dun dun.
I'm right there with you. That would be my enthusiasm
It's
for this as well.
part of why I enjoyed this, I think, was having watched Paradise Tower so recently. And so it feels very much like a 7th Doctor story. And they show up in this building, and it's some weird complex, and there's something going on. Okay. That's what his thing is. I finally figured out what Sylvester McCoy's trope of story is. It's that.
It's that.
So it's Happiness Troll, Paradise Towers, and Red.
Red. Yeah. I guess there should be more to make it a trope, but...
There was even a line where after Mel
even
falls off
Greatest
the
Show of the
building.
Galaxy is a little bit
Little
because
bit,
it's
'cause
one
it's
centralized
one
location, one specific location.
After Mel falls off the building onto the passing dirigible, there was even a line where the guy says, "Oh, paradise too much for you," and I went, maybe this is like a weird. We went back prior to us being there because maybe it is paradise,
or maybe they got chipped afterwards because of all the gang violence. I actually kind of, for a little bit, before we fully explored where they were going with it, I thought they were going Cybermen. Like a precursor kind of spare parts type thing of this species was, or these humans were slowly becoming Cybermen with their replacing their, or removing their anger and everything. That it was kind of the initial step. Or we were somehow, probably from recently rewatching Into the Dalek, we're inside a Cyberman's head. And this was all some sort of brain stuff.
Would have been kind of interesting.
It would have been interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's Keith trying to get Cyberman. Yeah.
Well, I can see where it's coming from, because the Doctor even makes that one comment about that's how you try to better yourselves by stripping away all these things that you think make you weak.
Totally Cyberman.
And so I can see where
I think that was an allusion to that.
Oh, yeah.
The
Implying,
Daleks.
yeah.
And I think he was
a
implying
lot of different things. But my mind went Cybermen. Your mind probably went Daleks.
That was the first thing I thought.
But I found this story rather enjoyable, although a bit uncomfortable to listen to at times. I think it was the moments of the Doctor being so mad and so angry, far beyond survival angry, which, considering this is supposed to take place before it, is I had some struggles with, because it didn't quite. It felt like it was late Seventh Doctor stories. But Mel's there, so it's not late Seventh Doctor story. So it almost feels out of character for... It helps set the groundwork for how the Doctor becomes in the future, but it almost is too much, too strong.
See, that's actually why I like this story and where they've placed it, based on that same idea. Because if you just watch the television series, there you see this like almost change in the Doctor, because of the situation of where the stories were going and everything going on behind the scenes, and them wanting to change the approach to the Doctor to kind of make him less clown-like and more dark. But what I appreciate with this story is this really kind of qualifies the idea that it's always been there. He's always been like this. Even in the early days of his seventh incarnation, he still had that capacity for this. Yeah, he's been walking this line. And so that actually almost makes it a lot more palatable that you don't so much have this happy, fun clown Doctor, and then this suddenly, dark. He wasn't ever brooding, because he still had that clown aspect to it.
Yeah.
That dark. There's a dark side. I'm walking an edge here. Aspect, which I always thought was he's not even grumpy, but can be dark. Can be dark and angry when necessary. And so this almost qualifies the idea that Doctor's been there all along. So I kind of appreciated that.
By the end of it, I got to a point of the red is bringing it out of him. It's there and it's buried, and it's not like it's on the surface ready to pop out at any moment. It's buried, and the red is digging this up.
Well, it doesn't. It makes that shift a lot smoother than just going, okay, one season we're this and one season we're that.
If it would have been, I didn't know where it placed in his run until now, but had it been a story fresh off the series or mid-series, it would have fit totally. I wouldn't have had an initial problem and had to find a kind of retcon in my mind for it. But according to to Wikipedia, this is his third adventure as the Seventh Doctor. And Paradise Towers is next. So it still seems kind of early, even now seeing that. I like I said, I can fix it in my mind that I like the idea and the exploration. It just seems a bit too much out of character.
Technically, this is the fifth one.
Fifth one?
Because he has 5 previous adventures with Mel, including the Fires of Vulcan.
Well, according to... Because... Hold on, let's see if I can pull up a list.
Where this one is actually set is between Unregenerate and Paradise Towers, so you're correct there.
At the time that the wiki is, because Fires of Vulcan actually came later in the line, didn't? Oh no, I'm sorry. Red is 85. I'm thinking of Red Dawn, which we're going to.
Yeah, we're getting to that one.
Yeah,
but yeah, Fires of Vulcan, Bang Bang a Boom, Flip Flop, and then Unregenerate all happened before Red. Now I purposely waited because I know I'm trying to give Keith as much continuity as I can when it comes to the big finish stuff, at the very least. But I did purposely skip over Unregenerate for a reason, which we will get back to at a later date. We're not quite ready for that one for other guards, but I wanted to throw a Seventh Doctor one in there, and we're kind of also
Well, you thought you were throwing Fifth Doctor.
See this?
Well, yeah, that's true.
According to the Wikipedia, according to just Wikipedia, Bang Bang and Boom is after Paradise Towers.
Really?
Is that Wikipedia or is it TARDIS Data Corp?
It's Wikipedia.
Don't go to Wikipedia.
Well, TARDIS Data Corp, I haven't found a chronological. It's always just the audio chronology.
Well, but if you read within the context of the text, it always tells you.
Well, I try not
how.
to.
Yeah, well, you're right. That's a good point. Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the list.
Yeah, TARDIS Data Corps, the nice thing is Wikipedia is infallible because even though there's probably fans that are creating those pages, it's enough of a wide open source that you have to kind of, when you're looking for a little more of continuity, you have to go to a more funneled area, and TARDIS database, TARDIS Data Corps, the Doctor Who wiki, actually is more reliable in that way. So.
Well, there's definitely at least one more then, because Unregenerate is definitely set before this one. In fact, I was a little uncomfortable because I haven't listened to Unregenerate yet, but I know some of what it details. And when it opens with Mel talking about "you're wigging out on me again," I was like, "Oh man, are we gonna wind up blowing a secret?" But
I know about Unregenerate, and that is a reference to that. But it's okay.
We wound up not covering much of it, so it was okay. But at any rate, once again, I think the best thing in this was the performances. Sylvester McCoy was fantastic, and wow, let's name let's name the story and the condition something with an R, so that he can really get into it.
Which is actually, to me, was a little jarring because he was in sync with each person that was being motivated by the bad guy, by the energy, and he was always synced to that person. And so what they did is they would switch back and forth between the dialogue of the person that was infected and him being synced to them, and the other guy saying red, 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 and he's going red, red. And I almost had that moment I kind of had that feeling of, Sylvester, you probably shouldn't have. I mean, fine to roll the R, but you probably didn't have to push it. It was almost a little bit too much for me. And it was very noticeable because one thing that I like about Sylvester is sometimes I don't always pick out when he's rolling the R's, and sometimes he does it intentionally because it's a character trait. And I like that. But in this one, while he sometimes overemphasizes it in other dialogue, and you go, oh, there's that roll. This time he was like doing the overemphasis and then adding to it. And so to me that was a little too much. So that bothered me about that performance.
See, it didn't bother me, and I agree with you. There are times when it's so noticeable that it's like, and then there are other times when it just kind of sneaks in. This one, I liked the fact that it was so overemphasized because I felt like that really heightened how uncomfortable I was with the Doctor acting and behaving this way, and obviously possessed or so tied in with that he was uncomfortable with it, and that it felt like he was struggling against it. But when you mentioned, kind of tough to listen to at times, that this is one of those reasons why, where it was like, I don't want my Doctor to be scary, and he's scaring me right now.
Well, in that moment after the first one, where where he's talking about how the guy that wouldn't have known had to snap the neck if it weren't for me.
Yeah,
and that was he played that so powerfully. It was like, it made you feel so bad for the Doctor.
That's just it's done so well that you are scared of him at the same time you feel so bad for him because you realize how out of control he was of it.
What'd you guys think of Slow?
That was weird. That was just weird.
It's kind of a neat idea. I don't know if I buy into it that much.
Conceptually, it was cool, but I'm with you. It's like it was almost too surreal that it almost made it kind of hampered its plausibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that had it been a TV drug where they just said, well, it makes you experience time in a different manner, and then we would have got some visual along with it, versus the audio where, well, we almost felt like we had to throw a little more technobabble in there to kind of clear it up, and the idea of this crystalline nervous system, it's like, say what?
And that's going to help Mel's explain how.
Actually, it's initially given to her so she can regain power over her legs because she's paralyzed at that point.
She fused their discs,
Yeah,
right?
but actually, I disagree. Well, I think that I agree with you in the statement that this one, whereas it was a TV episode, it would have been more of a throwaway, and this one injected the technobabble. I almost expected them to go a little further and explain it a little more, and they didn't. And I was actually grateful for that because I was already in my mind trying to rectify the plausibility of it. So by not pushing the point and giving me too much about it to try to explain it away, I actually felt like I was a little better with it. That they added the crystalline structure and all that.
See, that for me
was
was almost too much because it started part of my brain trying to chase that down that rabbit hole, going, but how does that affect? Why does that have anything to do with the time travel?
Right.
Well, not time travel, but the time element of why would you? Why would that cause that? And it's like you don't need to worry about any of that. You just need to roll with it. And I think if they had not gone there,
but Sean, they didn't really use that to explain the time element. That was more of the process of the drug taking
right. Well, the time was actually
effect.
more of a side effect, is what it sounded like.
Exactly. So
that's why they took it.
That's why I was okay with that because it was almost the process of how the drug works within your body, not necessarily the effects that it does. So that's why I felt like it wasn't over-explained. It's kind of what the drug is doing to your body, not necessarily what it's doing to your mind.
It was trippy. I thought it was interesting that we got this such a surreal, almost pseudo-sexual response to the fact that, oh, you haven't been chipped? You could hurt me.
Yeah.
I mean, these people were really excited about the idea of that. And it took a while to kind of, what? And then as more of the plot unrolled, and it was like, oh, I understand now why this is becoming a deal. And, okay, I see. So then when we get to the end, there's almost a joke about it when, what's her name? Vi is like, oh, have a seat. I didn't know, you're in such a day. It's like, oh, God, here we go again. That she's going to be.
I really thought Vi was where they did a good job of making you think that Vi is where the entity was
totally
residing.
Thought that
because not only do they say they say it's residing in a resident, the next scene is her, and so it was very well calculated in the sense that we're going to make you think that this you figured this out, who this is. And so when you find out
somebody who's really fascinated with the violence, and
was it Celeste? Was it what was the girl's name?
Celia.
Celia. When you find out that it's Celia, you're like, well, that was just right there all along, but you basically pulled me off to this other side and said, "Oh, you've got this figured out." Oh no, you don't. Guess what? It was where initially,
and then for
where it's been all along, hidden in plain sight.
I was pleasantly surprised by that, and kind of sad because I liked Celia so much.
I did like Celia, yeah.
And then I thought, oh well, then okay, she's a really good character, and she doesn't like this. She's gonna figure out a way to stop it, and they killed her.
It was sad.
Yeah, and then it went down this really dark path of killing everyone.
Well, that was another very few problems I have with this story. But my other problem with that story is there's just based on the character of the Doctor, there was way too much dialogue while White Noise is offering so many people in the needle, and the Doctor is having these conversations. Less talk, more action, Doctor. I mean, I just kept thinking that because you hear it in the background. This number dead, this number dead, this number dead,
and it didn't sound like it was something simple like turning somebody off.
Right.
No, there
were screams coming from the other end of that PA system as this chip burned out, and it was just like, Doc, come on.
I was doing the same thing. So that was not a fault to the storytelling, but fault in the characterization of the Doctor. I really thought he should have been acting quicker.
Or maybe just structurally, how that was. That if there was exposition there that needed to come out, but you should have done that before White Noise started. Or
it could have been just as simple as thinking you had the power shut down and then it coming back. Kind of the thing we complain about Die Hard, how villain's not dead until he's dead.
Yeah, we could have fixed that. You know?
Anything else?
I find it weird that we didn't really get a resolution for the chip and the Doctor. Because he kind of wanders off and it's still there, right?
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if we're going to revisit that in audio later.
Could be. Could be something that was left open intentionally to revisit later.
I think that's all I had.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I was kind of on the fence with it right after I listened to it because it was like, I don't know. I liked it, but yet it was unsettling.
Yeah.
But I think I liked that it was unsettling. So,
well, and where I felt
it's yet another in a long line of good Big Finish audio.
Well, where I felt that was it Necromancia that was I said was just gruesome.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I was a little off put by it.
Yeah.
This one, while I still feel it was a bit dark and unsettling, it didn't get to the point of gruesome and off putting, and so I appreciate that because it made you think and it put you on edge, but it didn't push it so far that you were like, oh, I'm just completely turned off by that. And so I really appreciate that. I think that was good storytelling. And I'm with you guys. I think the performances were phenomenal.
And another really good job of world building. I totally bought into the settings of this and the way that the needle and the city and the fact that these were the upper echelon of the Cloud people and that everybody else went down to the city to live and that they were, but then these were kind of the more civilized folk because they chose not to commit crimes. Admittedly, we had our rough patch, but
honest though. Honest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I liked.
Yeah.
Well, and the exploration of the tower itself and how it worked and how it conveyed people to different places. That was such a cool idea.
Another one. Sorry, I'm dropping time crystals left and right here. Of course, now I got to finish this one because I'm not done. Sean, what we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up on the schedule, in our typical Traveling the Vortex fashion, next week we were going to go back and catch a Fourth Doctor story, Underworld, with the Fourth Doctor and Leela, which we have not reviewed yet, and we will do that for Friday Night Who. So again, if you have access to Underworld or have a copy or can buy a copy and get it by Friday, we start at midnight, press play, and join us on Twitter.
I'm actually quite excited by this one because I have not seen this one since I was a kid.
Oh.
I don't think I have either. I think this is another one that's lost to the...
It's one of those
it's in there somewhere.
It's one of those very few Fourth Doctor stories that I haven't seen again since I've seen it the first run. So. Well, my first run. It wasn't really first run.
And then our show next week for 2:15, we will be reviewing Underworld. And one more Big Finish, the Fourth Doctor audio adventure number 4, Energy of the Daleks, which is also a Fourth Doctor and Leela story. So, Ben, you got a Fourth Doctor in there you can jump in on. You own this one.
And it's Daleks, yay!
And it's Daleks, yay. I was holding on to it for a long time thinking, I should pair this up with a Dalek story. And it was like,
It occurred to me that you like me. Because we finally started the Eighth Doctor, and the first two stories of that was the Daleks. And then we get in a Fourth Doctor story with the Daleks. And then Keith and I, in a few weeks, are going to be reviewing Engine of War. That's almost all Daleks.
Then we will enter a dry spell. Because I will be tired of Daleks.
Much like the show, they will go away for a while.
They will go away
Much
for a
like
while.
the show, we'll say, okay, we've had enough Daleks.
We need to retire them for a little bit. And instead, bring on the Cybermen!
Yeah!
I started Engine of War. You're going to love the beginning.
It's a good.
Yeah. Well, there's one particular thing that I think you'll squee over.
Oh, I like Squee. Is it available in French?
It's an old friend, I think. Or a version of an old friend. Sorry, go ahead.
I know. So that's next week. And then the following week is Gallifrey 1. And Mel and I fly out Thursday. And we've kind of sort of got our itinerary because we're flying out super early Thursday morning. And we will land at LAX like at 8 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So it's like,
Well, there's
okay,
a time
what
change also.
What do we do with ourselves? At this point.
Yeah, but you can almost fly out of here at 8 a.m. and get there at 8 a.m. because
Yeah,
of the
almost
time
because of the
difference.
time difference. But Mitch, of course, has volunteered to let us stay with her, so we're very excited over that. It's our hotel organizations. But she doesn't fly in until 1-something. So we kind of have this, what are we going to do now?
Luggage around for a while.
So we think we're going to go and dump our stuff at the hotel and ask them to kindly sit on it.
They will.
And then we're going to take a bus and jaunt up to the Santa Monica Pier, which is not terribly far away from the airport.
Right.
And there's the rides and the roller coasters and all that stuff up there, and it's just like the one in Grand Theft Auto 5. And apparently there's a bubblegum shrimp on the pier too, so we'll have lunch and then go back and meet up with Mitch when she lands, and we'll call it that'll be our excursion for the week. So we're very excited about that, and then of course we'll be a galley for that. While that's going on, you guys get to do Friday Night Who, which I don't know if we'll join in or not. We will certainly try, but Friday Night Who will be Day of the Doctor, so you get even more Daleks. Go ahead. But that's because it's unfortunately much like we only have the one 8th Doctor story to do for Friday Night Who. Well, we only have one War Doctor story to do for Friday Night Who. So we'll do that.
There's two. There's 2 War Doctors.
No, you don't get to count the
Name of the Doctor?
No.
It's his first appearance.
No. Well, by that matter, you could also count Night of the Doctor.
That's true. That's
so it's
true.
3.
We get a reflection of him. So.
But so then you guys
It's
will
like
be
calling
reviewing.
Caves of Adjani a 6th Doctor story.
Yeah. But then you guys will be reviewing Engines of War, and then we'll be talking a lot about Galley, I imagine, when we get back. So.
Speaking of that, you guys did, well, or we did strong arm the girls into put that on the book. That is this month's book club selection. So
That is February.
Brittany put a post in because, as Chrissy alluded to, she's going to be busy, so she's put the other gals in charge, and Brittany put a post up announcing that would be the book of the month. So, as she said, and I'm just paraphrasing, it's kind of timely that we're reviewing that this month. However, you might, in order to avoid spoilers, want to try to get that read the first part of the month, so that by the time we talk about it, you won't have to wait to listen to our episode. You can be right on track.
Yay!
Or save a little goodie of Traveling the Vortex for later.
Anything else?
Ice Warriors is coming up. Looking forward to that one.
And Red Dawn.
And Red Dawn.
Which I have heard. I have listened to.
So.
All right.
Oh, and I suppose
you know what to look forward to.
the Beyond the Doctor for Patrick Troughton in the middle of the Ice Warriors. I suppose I should mention that.
Put it out there so that people have an opportunity to get it. Yeah.
We heavily weighed our options as far as screen time.
No,
we didn't.
Sean asked for recommendations, and Keith didn't answer him, but I said, I don't know which one ever has the most screen time.
So I was asleep, and by the time I got up, the schedule was posted.
We think we're going to do. We'll be best served. We don't think we're going to do it. We're going to do it, but we think we'd be best served by doing Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, which Patrick Troughton is apparently throughout. And there was another one we were looking at, but he dies relatively early in that one. And we went, we want to really make this fair. Give him a chance to do something. So Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger will be our Beyond the Doctor. So if you get the opportunity, dig that one up, see if you can find a copy.
That's probably
of it.
a little more readily
available,
especially in the U.S. than Carry On, Sergeant.
Then that'll be our episode 218 review. So you've got some time on that one.
All right. Well, if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Red, red, red.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.